Hi, welcome everyone to my week 5 presentation on collective bargaining titled To Be or Not to Be. Now, collective bargaining, as we've studied, is a set of techniques where employees are represented by a third party, where they can enter into negotiation, mediation, or even arbitration, and ask for terms and conditions in regards to their wages, condition of employment, grievances, or job classifications. Personally, I've spent most of my life in the private sector, and my public sector experience I've mostly been on the official side. And so, on both ends, I have not been part of a union at all. And from my perspective, I see unions as sort of a hindrance in a lot of ways in the way that they do their jobs and the specific rules that they have. However, after research, my opinion on it does vary. I can see both sides, and so with that, because I didn't have any public sector experience, I went ahead and found an individual to interview. The person I interviewed was a teacher for about 30 years, recently retired, and is currently on the elected side, part of a school board. The organization she was part of is the California Teachers Association, with a local chapter tied to that, the RCOTA, the Riverside County Office Teachers Association. And as everybody knows, the Teacher Association in California is one of, if not the largest unions in California, and so they have a lot of power in collective bargaining and in other areas. Giving a little bit background on the person I interviewed, she generally has a more conservative outlook, which is why it surprised me on the things she said in her response. She really pretty much wrote off the Janus decision. She said it didn't really affect the union as a whole. They saw less than 1% drop, and that it was more of a big business type of propaganda in addressing or sort of in opposition of the unions. And I found that very interesting because in the news videos we saw this week, on the right side of the spectrum, they believe that unions sort of muddle things and slow things down, and on the left side, they're claiming that, oh no, the Janus Act is gonna deteriorate already, a situation where unions are already losing membership, and so that will significantly affect their wages and other areas, which, by the way, I'll discuss in the Wisconsin Act 10 bill in the slides later on. And so the article that I chose is a little bit old, but it caught my attention because of what we saw this week in regards to the claims of declining unions. In a journal review by Norma Riccucci, titled The Changing Face of Public Employee Unionism, actually states that the number of public employee unions, at least the membership, has increased, while the private sector does show a decline. But in the article, it does state that the unions are old, and that they're accused of sort of not being in touch with the current economic situations. But they have also a way of rebounding, which means that there is some change there. Right? And so that goes towards a lot of their membership as well. It's that change is needed, and so I believe sooner or later, as the numbers show here, the unions do rebound and do reevaluate themselves and their effectiveness. And so there are benefits that I've read in regards to collective bargaining with unions, although I've never been part of them. And so part of that actually is highlighted by the Wisconsin uh, Act 10 bill that was passed in 2011. Now, the 2011 Wisconsin Act 10 essentially stripped away the rights of the unions to collective bargain. The news article I searched happened to caught my eye. It was one of the first articles by CNN, and it reported that since the bill passed, there was a decline in wages and rise in benefits costs like medical and such. And they also saw declines in employees, where teachers move to other districts or other areas where they do have a little bit more benefits. And so, with that, sort of going back to the beginning, the differences in the public and private sectors essentially, is that there's more players involved in the public sector. You have the public, taxpayers, officials, courts, the media that gets involved, and so it's very hard for a large amount of people to get what they want, especially in California where it's so diverse and we cover so many issues. And so collective bargaining becomes a very important tool in negotiation. I believe, after just researching everything, that it is necessary. However, with the pass of the Janus Act, employees have the right not to be part of a union. Now, given the information I got from the person I interviewed, and based off of that data, if there's less than 1% drop, I believe the 330,000 members there believe that there is a use definitely in the unions. And I would agree with that to a certain level. I believe both sides need to adjust how they do things. There is a effective way in negotiations, as we've read up and studied, and I believe that exploring different options in this process can eliminate some hurdles, right? As I mentioned, there's too many players involved, and so there are pros and cons to unions. So after this week, I believe that unions can change some of their specific work policies and rules. However, in the collective bargaining area, I believe they're a very effective tool for employees. And with that, I thank you for watching my presentation this week, and I'll see you all next week.